Hello, welcome to our first episode of the 7th series of That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch. I've got the boys with me again. It's good to be back. Chris Stark and Statman Dave. How are we, lads?
Very good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well. I've spent quite a bit of time in Berlin. I actually beat my kebab record, eating the most kebabs in a single day. So I think I've spent the time off doing some good stuff.
Absolutely.
What is your... how many was that?
That was 3 in a day, Crouchy.
3 kebabs?
3 in a day. It's just what you do in Berlin.
Yeah. And stats-wise, everything that you like, what do you do in the summer break? It's weird. Like, I sort of imagine you just shut away in a room doing numbers on the balls. Like,
yeah, that's usually it. We get the spreadsheets out and we crack on really with it because there's no live football, so it's more about looking what was to predict the future.
Is Haaland going to smash all of your stats to pieces?
Unfortunately, yes. It's confirmed he will break everything and ruin everything.
Will he? It's just a joke, isn't it?
It's absolutely incredible. You know, Borussia Dortmund over a goal a game, in the Premier League over a goal a game. People said the Bundesliga was a farmers' league. What about the Premier League now?
Very quickly, who, as a prediction, is going to be the biggest disappointment stats-wise? So the opposite to Haaland. So the one that should be, everyone is saying should be better, but is going to flop.
I think Aubameyang at Chelsea could be the one. Finished his career at Arsenal in really, really poor form. Not done too much at Barcelona. So I think it could be a big gamble considering what Tuchel's been through. Werner, Lukaku, you know, a whole host of forwards at Chelsea. I'm worried.
We have a massive announcement, some fucking massive news, which hopefully will sort of allow us a bit of an excuse for being a week late with this, because we are a week late. You put out that withering voice note as a podcast last week. Some of your finest acting, I think it's fair to say. But we have been busy. We've been getting up to stuff.
No, because I'll be honest with you, I have been in a lot of talks about this. And this is something that was really special to us last time. And this, the reason that we've been a week late is because Crouch Fest is coming back. Crouch Fest 2 is on. We are go.
We are go. It is so exciting. We've obviously done the first Crouch Fest, which was, oh my God, it just was everything and more than we expected. But Crouch Fest 2, it is happening. It's confirmed. And as we always say on this podcast, we're back stronger. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, I've had a lot of people like say to me, you know, when's Crouch Fest back? You know, it was announced in the House of Commons, you know, during lockdown. They were saying we will have Crouch Fest back. You know, they were talking about it there. Lots of people have been talking about it. It is back. We are going to do our second Crouch Fest on the 19th of November. This is a day before the World Cup starts. I don't know how we've done this, but Crouch Fest is going to be held at Wembley Arena.
Come on. It's mad.
Absolutely sensational.
But like, it's one of those things where it shouldn't happen, you know, and like it is going to happen regardless. And hopefully you come, but if you don't, it'd still be hilarious anyway.
Yeah.
So, but if you fancy it, come down, because last time was one of the best nights of our life.
I just really like to imagine that as you say that, there'll be people smiling, because so many people enjoyed Crouch Fest 1 as a podcast. There was a lot of people that were lucky enough to be there, but there were so many people who couldn't get to be there. And Wembley Arena, taking a podcast to Wembley, it's not really been done like this before, and how we want to do it. And it's so fucking exciting.
Dave, obviously it'd be your first Crouch Fest. Some of the highlights were Catherine Jenkins performing the Champions League anthem. I thought You Me at 6, Tom Grennan, Liam Gallagher was our special guest. The pin game. I remember when everyone was trying to guess my pin on stage for a load of beers. I was going to buy everyone a drink. There was so much that went on. You know, referees, fancy dress. It felt like a night at the darts, Dave. It really did.
I think it's been a big dream of mine. I grew up on the streets of Rio de Janeiro. I had pictures of Crouch Fest on the wall. I've had the shirt for a long time now, so I'm just, excited to see what it's like.
I think you're right in what you said as well, Crouch, is we did the first Crouch Fest, and then obviously COVID happened. It's going to be a special return. Think of it like the second Godfather movie. It's just going to be epic.
Do you feel like we've overreached with Wembley Arena?
Being honest.
A touch.
What do you think? You think is you say about all the things that happened, but anyone there, and I think anyone that enjoyed that Crouch Fest podcast can tell you, was although there was these amazing things that happened, it was also at times a bit of a shambles. I remember producer George here, basically been in my ear going, just fill for 15 minutes, please. It's like, that doesn't happen at the Brits.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that doesn't. And
My best one was
so
when
we're
I
all
was
just
giving
downing pints
Yeah,
on
we had,
stage or giving away our shoes.
Some of the things that it was a little bit shambolic, but it was everyone was on board with it, and like I always remember George in my ear as well. I think when I was just going like, right, I'm gonna give someone my pin to like get it right, and he was like, no, you can't do that. It was like carnage but behind the scenes, but it all seemed to work out okay. There'll just be more people this time.
It's gonna be great, and as you say, like we like to imagine we can do the sort of same as that first Crouch Fest. So groups of people, mates, make an event of it, fancy dress, really go for it. And yeah, if this announcement's made you smile, we'll obviously have details about how to get hold of tickets.
If you're into this, and we'd love you to come along. Dave, you're in charge of admin and stats. How the hell do they get their tickets?
He collects all the ticket money and all that.
Well,
organises people's
I'm just
tickets.
hoping someone can sort it out. 'Cause I know I can't.
We've got to head over to gigsandtours.com or Ticketmaster, and the tickets will be available from the 9th of September. Tell your mates, your family, the people that you work with, and get the word out that Crouch Fest is coming to Wembley on the 19th of November.
Yeah, that's a point. Like, get everyone, like, tell everyone, pass the pod, but also pass on this news as well, because there'll be a lot of people that I think will want to know this. So 9th of September, they'll be available. That is exciting.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be able to go back to Wembley. So for me, it's special.
Last time you were there,
I scored against France for England and got binned off. So I
Yeah.
had good memories, actually, really. We lost, but I scored.
but will we see maybe the robot at Wembley?
Well, that's highly likely, isn't it?
Things as well, when you think of Wembley Arena, the amount of iconic performances there's been, the idea that this little podcast can go and do Wembley Arena is insane. These are professional outfits, bands, the world's biggest comedians, everything. They go in there and they go do their thing. We've got to somehow scramble this together. And like everything with this podcast, it seems sensible that we ask the army of people that listen to this to try and help us out. And I think it's everything. I think we need us to all just go for this the same way we did the first Crouch Fest. I'm talking, we need people who are good at designing posters, people who can help promote it. I'm up for doing what we did before and get like a head of toilets in the venue. Like, it's just everything's gonna be bigger because it's Wembley Arena.
Yeah, but we should still have the listeners on board, like doing the security, for instance. Like if you work at the door of a nightclub, get in touch. We're going to need you. It's all hands to the pump. If you can do lighting, can you do that for us? Can you film it, someone?
No, you're right. Photographers. And if you have any ideas that you think should be incorporated into Crouch Fest 2, then definitely let us know. Just send us an email. Let's start building this thing throughout this series. This is going to be the end of this series.
Yeah, it's like we always end with some sort of crescendo. And I thought Crouch Fest was the best that we've done. I think going to the Palace of Prince William was phenomenal as well in a very different way. But the crescendo of Crouch Fest, it needed to happen. And COVID got in the way previously, and now we've got the chance to do it again. So let's see how we get on.
How have you been since saw you last?
I've been good, mate. I'll be honest with you. Summer holidays seems to go on for like 6 months now. These kids are just off for so long. Like, what the hell is going on? I don't remember being off that much. Like, as parents, come on, give us a break. The teachers are having it off constantly on holiday.
Right, wow. Okay. I'm not sure I totally agree with that.
Why not?
Because my mum's a teacher.
Oh, I knew there was a reason.
Yeah, obviously. And I'm aware there's a lot of teachers who are probably listening to this right now and you've just written them off as being
I don't write them off.
constantly on holiday.
They do a fantastic job when they're in. I just don't think they're in enough.
Well, I think the same with footballers.
What are stats on that?
Well, I think statistically, I live with a teacher, my cousin, and he has been having a jolly for the past 3 months.
You live with your cousin? We don't know too much about Statman Dave's personal life, do we?
We haven't delved into
maybe this
Statman
series.
Dave's personal life.
Yeah.
It's all good though.
It's all great. It's all great.
You've been playing a lot of golf.
Playing a lot of golf, mate. I've been trying to, it's my one break. And I am joking, obviously. Teachers I love, they do a fantastic job, and I love my children. I really do. I love spending time with them, and I've spent a lot of time with them, but there is a bit of me that needs some time off, and golf is my pursuit of choice at the moment, and I've been playing a lot of it, and I've been really enjoying it.
hit us with some names. I heard from a mutual friend that you were playing with one of the Dragons.
Yeah, Peter Jones.
Peter Jones.
Yeah, very, very good. Him and Stephen Myron are a formidable force. And they took a lot of money off me over the course of the summer. But back stronger next year, I suppose.
Good. Any other names?
I did pitch him something.
Did you?
On the golf course.
And was it a yes from him?
It wasn't a no. So you know the rangefinders on the golf course. So you know where you get them out and you pin it, you press the button and you can see exactly how far to the pin. So you've got like 120 yards in, 121 yards in. It has a slope rating so you can see what kind of shot you have to hit, what distance. Incredible tool. I basically used that, and then also I've noticed a lot of people vaping on the golf course. So there's a lot of people that vape and play golf and use these utensils. So I thought you could use it, and you know they're big contraptions, and then vape it.
Okay.
At the very same time.
It'd have to be a double ender then, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So you literally, so it's like a binocular, but it has a bit at the bottom. So it's like a.
You pitched this.
Oh well. I thought it's a great idea. Like, you're killing two birds with one stone. You've either got a vape or you've got a rangefinder, but if we combine them.
Okay. Well, let's see if there's a demand for it, firstly, because you're throwing it out there on this podcast. There's loads of people listening, so we can see if there is a demand. And then at least you can evidence that to Peter Jones.
Well, I know there's a demand because I've seen it. Everyone has a rangefinder, and I've noticed a lot of people vaping. It's become
business gets done on the golf course. This is why I need to get into golf. There's a network of you guys that you play with so many influential people.
You miss out on a lot of things if you don't play golf. I noticed that when I was a footballer, I didn't play golf, and I missed out on a lot of stuff. And everyone would come in laughing and joking after the day off on a Thursday. And be like, oh, you know, so. And I'm like, what happened? And just missed out because you didn't play golf.
That's a real shame.
That's why I took it up, really.
Did you get a game in with John Terry?
I did play with John Terry. Yeah, he's a good golfer.
This is what I mean. I'm having to ask you names to find out that you played golf with them.
You played.
Who else?
Shearer? Shearer was on the golf course for a few months.
I did play with Alan, yeah. Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. It's got to be, the way the podcast works is I think it's got to be more you tell us who you've played golf with.
Well, you've just said me. 3 names. And
I know. We could do this with anyone. Benzema?
No, not this time.
No, not this summer. I left Radio 1 as well.
You did, Chris. Yeah, how's that gone?
Yeah, cool. I start at Capital. Thing is, we had this discussion, didn't we, about
loan signings,
you know, switching clubs, the comparison with different, and then I went and did it. So yeah, finished at Radio 1, which was quite emotional, and then start at Capital, which is really exciting. So doing the breakfast show there with Roman Kemp.
I will have you on in the school run.
For your kids?
No, because I like you.
I'm finding it fascinating with the pundits, especially this season, last season as well. I see you doing a lot of this as well on TV. They're on the pitch. It used to be like they're in one bit of the stadium, then it's side of the pitch, and now you're on the pitch. And then what's fascinating is seeing how players respond to you boys as well. So obviously we've got to talk about Ronaldo pieing Carragher on that one. It was amazing to see, actually. And I think we're going to start to see more of this, right? Players warming up and just getting involved
Pundits
a bit more.
getting pied.
Yeah. And then I saw you with Ronaldo. Just whilst it's on my brain, I think we just need to briefly discuss it. Because when I was watching you on TV and I saw Ronaldo come over, I thought, shit, he's about to reach out, try to do the handshake. But Ronaldo was kind of kicking a ball around, was on the move. And then you ducked out of it.
No.
Was I reading that right?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. Is like obviously it was the week after
the Carragher incident.
Carragher had got pied, and I'm standing next to Rio Ferdinand and Paul Scholes, and I'm an ex-Liverpool player, same as Jamie Carragher was. So I thought, oh no, like this, you know, he's gone for the handshake with Rio, he's gone for the handshake with Scholes, and then I don't know where. I don't want to get pied, but then I don't want to be rude. We did go for it in the end, and I got one. I wouldn't have, you know, been bothered if I.
I must have missed that, Jeff. So you did get a handshake.
I did get a handshake, yeah.
Oh,
I didn't get pied.
I thought you weren't sure whether to go in.
Well, I wasn't at first because I seen it and it wasn't pretty, was it? But
no, I'll tell you what wasn't pretty was the little keepy ups with Scholes.
Let myself down big time there.
Mate, I've been having stress dreams about it ever since. So you're on TV, 4 of you there, 4 pundits, before a game. It's all quite relaxed, right? So there's you, Scholes, Rio.
Yes, and
Lynsey. Right, you're all lined up and you're just kicking a football around, little 2-touch sort of
We
thing.
were doing that, off air, but mainly it was Scholesy and Rio, so they had to warm up. Like I went in on air cold a bit. Like they were doing 2-touch and I was just, I think, chatting away.
Oh, you're sounding a bit like David Brent.
I'm just telling
when he
you
does the dance, he goes like...
I'm telling you what happened. Like,
if anything, it was impromptu. You are, though.
I'm not going to lie. I let myself down. But what I'm saying is, in my slight defence, is they were warming up. They weren't warming up. They were just playing off air. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't. I was doing my research. Like I was really like involved in the game. I'm so professional at what I'm doing.
Yeah, but it only counts when the cameras are on.
Yes. So what happened was they then said,
so the ball moves.
It was something in our ear that said, actually, we're coming back. And they said, like, rather than put the ball down, carry it on, and we'll go into the thing doing it. And I was like, all right, great. So one of my first touches was that particular touch that went wrong.
So hang on, no, you can't get away with this. So the ball's moving across the line, right?
Yep.
Ball comes to you.
I have a decent
I see
first
Scholesy
touch.
looking at you. You get a lovely first touch.
Well, it went to my left side, and what I've done is trying to reach round past my left foot, where I should just passed it with my left.
And the ball's just
went down. It went down.
Just gone away. It was horrible to watch. And then what was really bad is you all had to sort of apologise for it.
Yeah,
so
it was like someone swore on air or something. Like Lynsey had to go, like apologies if you'd just seen that.
Yeah, and Scholesy was smiling like as if like he was smiling about it, but I know how much you rate Paul Scholes.
Well, I felt like he might have been thinking, like thank God, like he didn't play the '99 team, As we were walking. I saw Rio and Paul go into sort of a conversation, and I felt low.
Do you think they were discussing
Maybe.
it?
I think they were laughing a little bit. It was disappointing.
But you are a really good footballer.
I'm a brilliant footballer, mate. I'm so good.
It was just unlucky.
It was a bad day at the office, Chris. We all have them.
Say what do, Crouchy. If you look down the camera here, and I think, this isn't about Scholes and Rio and Lynsey anymore. I think just look down the camera there and just everyone who supports you and listens to you, like maybe just look down the camera there and say what you need to say.
Anyone who was at St Mary's that day, friends, family, my wife, my children, anyone connected to this podcast, I'd like to apologise for my recent display of 2-touch in front of Paul Scholes and Lynsey and Rio. Sincerely, I won't let this affect me going on. I've let myself down, and I promise to come back stronger next time. Thank you.
So all our minds are on Crouch Fest 2, and we've been thinking up behind the scenes and what the lineup could be for that as well, because obviously that's going to be important, isn't it?
The lineup.
Yeah, we had a great one for the first Crouch Fest. It's
It's one of those, like we stumbled upon it. Like I think sometimes when the way we chat through things on the particular podcast leads up to that crescendo. Like everything, like think about it. Like we made a beer last episode. We had loads of stuff happens, and like the J-Lo song was born out of it, and things will happen in this series that go, right, that has to go on Crouch Fest.
Yeah, and people will suggest stuff. People will be thinking stuff right now or throughout the day, and then get in touch, peter.crouch@acast.com if you've got any ideas. And it got us thinking wider than that about Crouchy's ultimate football lineup as well, and it made sense that we could maybe do a podcast episode on this. I think this would be fascinating. I'm amazed we haven't done this already. So over the last week, we got you to think about every single player that you've played with, and then the aim of this is that you come up with the ultimate squad of players. So not necessarily, it's too easy to go just the best footballing talent in different areas. I'm talking about the best squad that you could make.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, what I've gone for here is a mixture of talent, character, entertainment for me personally. The right blend of attitude that I would like in my squad. if I'm going to be a part of it.
So you're player manager?
I think I'll have to be player manager, yeah. Trying to control these players might be something different.
It's hard in these situations, and when players and ex-pros are forced into making these sorts of decisions in these kind of context. I think you need a scenario, because there's too many variables between different players as to what the best 11 could be.
Well, I mean, a lot of it would cut. I think it could almost. I think someone else could pick that for me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well,
with that team, you'd have Ashley Cole, you'd have maybe Beckham, Gerrard, Van der Vaart, Modric, Torres. It sort of almost picks itself. This is a different 11 to that.
Yeah, Dave could press F5 on his keyboard and it will throw out the best players.
Probably the best players.
Yeah, random names here and there. But I think the really exciting part of this is, Crouchy, you're in control of this. This is your team that you may feel that you can go on a night out, you can win the Premier League, you can win the FA Cup. This is the team.
Yeah, and we gave you a scenario. So the scenario is, imagine an away game. So there's a bit of a travel thing as well. So as well as the team, you've got a
flight.
It's the whole day experience.
Can we stay over after the game?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Chris, you're the best chairman in world football here.
I guess we start with the goalie, right?
Yeah, so I've gone for David James in goal. He's a friend of the pod, big character. But importantly, I've gone for 3 substitute keepers as well in my squad.
Wow, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is J-Mo just a shoe-in?
Well, I love J-Mo. I think technically as a goalkeeper, he's unbelievable. I really mean that. I think he's had a lot of stick at times, but technically as a goalkeeper, he loves goalkeeping. Great character, and I do think he'd be my number 1. But I do have 3 substitute keepers. They're Graham Stack, Jimmy Walker, and Stephen Bywater.
Is that for morale? Is that you want to, we spoke about how sub-keepers are big in the dressing room. Is that you want 3 of those guys?
Yeah, so I feel like the importance of the role of a substitute keeper is undervalued. I think they know they're not going to play, and if they're not the best of characters, it's like having them around. It's like you need them to want to train every day. You need them to be happy to warm up the number 1 goalkeeper. They have to be good characters, and the ones I've picked are some of the best second choice keepers I think around.
Are you claiming then that let's even skip over second choice? Are you saying because you've got 3 substitute keepers, your third and 4th substitute goalkeeper, it's more important the character side of it than the actual talent?
Well, the character side of Graham Stack, Jimmy Walker, Stephen Bywater is they are going to knit the rest of the team together because they are such big characters. Graham Stack is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. We've got to get him on the pod. Absolutely love him. Jimmy Walker the same. I mean, we signed him. He's spent a long time at Walsall. That's where he played most of his games. Went to West Ham. He's a bit iconic there. I think the most iconic thing he did at West Ham was a bicycle kick after the game had finished that someone had captured on YouTube. Well, obviously captured on the phone and then put it on YouTube. And it's out there. Please go out there and Google Jimmy Walker bicycle kick for West Ham. It's not actually in a game, but it rattles the crossbar and it's a fantastic moment.
But what do you mean? I've not seen this. What do you mean? It's not in the game. So what? He's just.
Well, I think he's just like when all the players sort of go out after a game, and I'll be honest with you, I've been that player where you're a substitute and you're just like, oh, you're absolutely fuming, and you walk out and you've got to do the running and stuff like that. Someone like Jimmy Walker's done a bicycle kick, it livens everyone up. Those players don't mind running anymore, like Jimmy's doing a bicycle kick, like awesome. That's how important.
Did he shout he was doing this before?
I wasn't at West Ham at the time. I've only seen he showed me the footage. He said, "Do you want to see one of my finest moments?" He showed me the footage. Yeah, he came to Tottenham after that. And bearing in mind, we had 3. I think we had Brad Friedel, we had Carlo Cudicini, and Aurelio Gomez, and Jimmy Walker was signed as well. So he was never going to play, and he never did. But I genuinely believed he was signed on the basis that he might do a bicycle kick after a game, and little things like that. Like he did knit everyone together, and everyone in the dressing room loved him. And not many, Spurs sort of fans might even know he was there. Like the ones who don't know about the club, they wouldn't never have seen him play. But he did knit the dressing room really, really well.
How's Gomez not on your list? He's an unbelievable
No,
character.
I agree with that. Yeah, he's a fantastic keeper. Yeah, I agree. But I went for J-Mo, who's going to start, and then 3 Mavericks.
Nice guys don't get into Crouchy's 3 goalkeeper substitutes.
No. But
Which is very harsh
there is
on
room
Murillo.
for him. You know, if I'd have thought of him, he would have been in
Yeah.
because he's a nice guy. But I'd rather someone did a bicycle kick after a game.
Right, Crouchy, on to right backs. Who have you picked?
Well, there's only one man for me, and I speak very highly of Glenn Johnson.
Here we
I know,
go. It's always Glenn Johnson.
I like him. He's a good, he's good to have around the place. He's actually a fantastic right back. Good for morale. He's in. You know that. My other pick at right back is.
Can I say this about Glenn Johnson? You talk about him so much on this podcast, and he's a lovely bloke. Blah blah blah. Like you're a one man ambassador for Glenn Johnson. Like it's always find a fag. He's not been involved in this podcast once. Didn't bother coming to Crouch Fest.
Yeah.
Doesn't. I don't know if he thinks of you the same way.
Yeah. Well, I see where you're coming from.
How's he not been on? 7 series this is now.
It's a valid point.
I mean, if we were to clip up every time you've said Glenn Johnson over the last 7 series, it would be like, I think we could get 40 minutes of you just going, Glenn Johnson, no. Glenn Johnson, no.
Yeah, but he's been mate. It's like, yes, you said.
Is he though?
Scott Mills. Well,
I think it's one way. I think you're obsessed with him.
I reckon Scott Mills is one way.
What, that I'm obsessed with him?
Yeah, he can give a fuck.
Well, okay, but I think Scott Mills is... No, I think it's mutual. I don't... Because I can evidence it. I can say, here's Scott at this, here's Scott at this, here's Scott at Crouch Fest. I'll bring Scott Mills out. I bet you Glenn Johnson doesn't come to Wembley.
Yeah, but Scott's not going to come to Wembley.
He will step out at Wembley.
If you say that I've got this competition, he didn't come to the last one.
No, he didn't, but I don't think we invited him. My point is...
But I didn't invite Glenn either.
Right. I'm willing to bet you right now, Glenn Johnson does not come to Wembley.
He will.
Because he hates you.
He doesn't hate me.
Right, let's move on from Glenn Johnson. Who's your second right back, Crouchy?
I hope he doesn't hate me. My second right back is Steve Finnan.
Of course.
Do you know why? Because I love this man.
Yeah.
What a fantastic play. He set me up so many times as well. And just, you must have some stats on him because there is some amazing stats on Steve Finnan.
There's a great fact. The only player to have played at all 4 levels of English football, the Conference League, the UEFA Cup, the Intertoto Cup, the Champions League, and a World Cup. Impressive.
Wow.
I remember sitting with him when I signed for Liverpool. And we were good, we were very close. And he was at Welling, I think, non-league, Notts County. They won Division 2, Division 1, Championship with Fulham. Won that as well, and then won a Champions League at Liverpool. It's not been done. That he's won at every single level, right from the bottom, and so humble, such a lovely fella, and we got on great. Like when I first signed for Liverpool, he was probably my good pal because he was sort of from London, and he took me under his wing a little bit. He'd been there, just won in Istanbul, and he was a firm. He was solid right back for Liverpool, like very very underrated. I spent a load of time with him, and he didn't drink, so after games. He'd drive us around and...
So he was the designated driver.
Yeah,
that's why he's made this 11,
no,
right?
it wasn't
It's
just
useful.
that. I mean, he was the designated driver and it was handy because he would stay out with me.
But was he fun?
Yeah. Like he was great to be around and, always... when you leave somewhere, he's like, got the car. Like, great,
Yeah.
And then we'd nip off. One of the best goals I've ever scored, possibly the best goal I've ever scored, was from Steve Finnan, just like knocked it round the fullback and dinked it across for my overhead kick against Galatasaray. And I've got that on my wall, and if Steve Finnan hadn't put that cross in or beat that man, that wouldn't be on my wall and that wouldn't have happened. Because he's so humble and because he doesn't shoot his mouth off or doesn't do many press conferences or doesn't put himself out there, people forget about him, And I feel like even now, I can't get hold of him myself. I haven't spoke to him for years.
He doesn't answer the call either.
Maybe it's the thing with right backs that just they don't like me anymore. But I think we should move on swiftly here because we've spent a lot of time there on a couple of positions.
God.
My centre backs are Ledley King, Jonathan Woodgate, and Jamie Carragher.
What's the pairing?
Well, I don't know yet. I'll be honest with you, Dave. I haven't thought that far. I'm just thinking of a squad here, and I think. Ledley was one of the best centre-halves I've ever played with, and I think lots of people will tell you that. I grew up with Led. We were in the same youth team at Tottenham. I went all around the houses and came back, and Ledley was still in the same position I left him. He stayed at Tottenham his whole life. Finally, I got it back and made it in the first team, and that was special to me because me and Led had sort of from under 14 all the way up to 19. He got in the first team, and I had to go around the houses and make it back there. But in the old ball court, everyone knows it. At White Hart Lane, it's a little five-a-side pitch next to White Hart Lane. That was where we used to go on a Tuesday, Thursday night. And Ledley was by far the best player in there every single day. Just honestly, like the most technically gifted, like big centre half you probably ever see.
The Buffalo. We're picking it. We've got to pick the Buffalo and the Gazelle of this pair, and I think we've got to get one of each.
Yeah, we've talked
Buffalo.
about this before. You're right, and it's a good analogy, I think, to have.
Well, I've got a couple of Buffaloes in there. I think Carragher and Woodgate are the Buffalo element to it, and Ledley King is more sort of like of the Gazelle. But I know you could do both sides of it. But Jonathan Woodgate, like unbelievable character as well. Just loved him as a fella, like incredibly funny. I don't know how many people know that he was called the Llama.
Sorry,
he was, he was self-proclaimed Llama. He used to call himself he believed he looked like a llama.
I suppose he did. Is that why he grew his hair out?
Yeah, a bit llama-like. Yeah. So, and again, I think you could see even when he went to Real Madrid, he had a hard start, but like learned the language, indulged himself, and like immersed himself in like Spanish culture, and like from a lad from Middlesbrough, like that is probably difficult to do, and like everyone loved him. You could see that everyone at Real Madrid loved him. And that was the same with Tottenham when I was there, and Newcastle and Middlesbrough. Anyone who's played with him would say like they enjoyed his company, and he was incredibly funny, and he was a top player.
Can we briefly talk about Carragher? Because I think he's a really interesting one for me, because I sort of know of him more as the person I see on TV now. And then there's been a couple of stories that I know that we've discussed in a podcast with Carragher, one of which I'm aware we never named him as the person. So there's one story, I'm not going to be allowed to give it away, annoyingly, but maybe one day, maybe at Crouch Fest 2. There is one story with Carragher which was told on this podcast, but if you've listened to all 7 series and you really there is one that we couldn't name the person, but it was Carragher. That's fair to say, isn't it? Because there's been a few of them.
It's not bad, is it, really?
It's not bad. Like, I personally think you should name him for it.
No,
it's my favourite story ever. It's my favourite story you've told on the podcast ever. Yeah,
and that'll come out in time, I'm sure. And it won't. It's not something to worry about. But I think, it's not for me to divulge, is it? I don't think. When I arrived at Liverpool, right, Carragher and Gerrard are they're the staples in that team, and he just looked after me like you wouldn't believe. And I had a difficult spell not scoring, and he helped me with most of the people in that crowd. He knows, so I feel like, honestly, his friends and family, we're 30, 40 of them at games, that's a loud voice in the crowd, and they speak to their mates and in local pubs, and like the whole local area were like, I genuinely believe that him and, he was a huge part of me sort of being recognised by the fans, even in that difficult period. So I can't have a bad word to say.
Do you mean like an endorsement? Do you feel like you got an endorsement?
Yeah, I think he basically said, lay off him, support him, because he's working so hard and he's trying it, and he's just not coming off at the moment, but it will. And I genuinely believe that sort of demeanour and that. And he might turn around here and say that's complete bollocks. I didn't say any of that, but I felt that he did. Because everyone I spoke to, his mates and everyone of his dad and his brother, and his friends, and they just were so accommodating with my family. Like my mum and my dad felt completely at home in Liverpool coming to the games because they were so looked after in the crowd by the Carraghers, by his family, by his friends. And those away trips, my dad swears blind that they were the best times of his life because Carragh's old man and Carragh's mates, and they all looked after him in Europe. And he went on had a few beers with him, with them, and he just loved it, and he felt part of and that's what Liverpool is, and it is like a city, but it's a village, and if they all stick together no matter what. And my dad felt a part of that, and I felt a part of that, And even now, to this day, I still do feel a part of that. And that is special. And that's down to people like Jamie Carragher for helping me become that.
Amazing. Left back Crouchy, surely only one choice here.
There is only one choice. And I think that choice from you might be Ashley Cole. But for me, it's Herman Hreiderson.
It's Herman Hreiderson. Again, we were talking about this, about how you put the 11 together. And obviously we've put a huge sort of weighting on personality and good times and memories. It's not just a squad just of talented people. That's a given. It's something more than that.
Yeah, and also like we just point out that Ashley is a great lad as well. And I do love him, and he's a top world-class player. But just Herman just gets the edge here on this one, only because he is a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
And I love him as a person. And he's actually a really hard defender. Good, solid centre-half, really, but could play at left-back. There's countless stories. I feel that Herman needs to sort of come on the pod and explain them, really.
Well, we've said this so many times. Wouldn't it be great to get him on? I even floated the idea of us going to him, wherever he is.
I think a little trip to Iceland
great night out.
Be incredible.
A work event, but a great work event.
Absolutely.
Dave, Herman Hreiderson, have you got anything that sort of backs up what Crouchy's saying?
There's a few things. The only Premier League defender to score for 5 different clubs in Premier League history.
Is that a stat? Like, I often think with defenders, it's like scoring goals shouldn't be a positive necessarily for a defender.
No, in the modern day, I think
positive.
Yeah,
Well, no, I just mean
It's not negative, is it?
I just mean you don't get judged on how many goals you save as a striker.
Yeah, but I think scoring a goal is like the point of the game.
Yeah, but what I mean is I don't think you're a better defender because you've scored 5.
For 5 different clubs.
No, I get how this is sounding, actually. Obviously, the aim of the game that we're talking about here is to score goals. That's really important. I get that. It's a given.
Well, I'm glad
but what
you
I'm saying
corrected
is
it.
like when you judge a defender, it's wrong to judge. Like, there's great defenders who scored fuck all.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a nice thing as well, if you can have that as well.
It's a bit like if I go Crouchy, he was a great striker. He did 10 goal line clearances whilst playing for Tottenham. You know?
I think you should get some extra money for that.
Yeah.
Clean sheet bonus, a little bit of part of that.
Off the line
So
bonus.
you're disgusted at that.
It doesn't concern me. I'll be honest.
You don't want your career judged on that.
I don't know. I'd rather that you didn't say that, yeah.
Crouch, how good was he in the air?
Brilliant, yeah. Like he was an animal. Like he's one of those people that was just he was a beast, and when he entered the room, he was charismatic, and he would just beat people up for fun. I've told the story about Glenn Little when he broke his arm, just little things like that. Obviously, in the bar in South Africa when he jumped down the pole. What else? I mean, I'm not just putting him in the team for that. I'm putting him in the team because of his, characteristics around the place. And do you know what he wouldn't have? He was a bit like a Viking, he wouldn't have people going down. He wouldn't have people diving. He would police that from inside the dressing room.
Set a standard.
Set a standard, like grow up, basically. And he wouldn't have people getting injured.
He'd be embarrassed.
He'd be embarrassed for them, and he would embarrass them for it. And I quite like that about him.
Yeah. Aside from the 5 goals he scored for 5 clubs, was there anything?
I asked about the aerial stuff because he had one of the best aerial dual win rates in Premier League history, 81%.
Really?
So dominant, really dominant.
It just aggressive, incredibly aggressive in every way.
The problem is, I've noticed we haven't really got further than the defenders in your Crouchy 11.
Well, do you know why, Chris? Because it's good fun.
Yeah.
It's nice to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if what we maybe need to do is split this up a little bit so that everyone can hear everything that's happened around the defenders. Maybe we sort of attack midfielders and maybe attackers as part of a part 2 in the next episode.
I like that.
Sound good?
I'm really enjoying myself. So, I'd like to do that. Maybe another episode.
And remember, you can get in touch with ideas for Crouch Fest as well. We actually need to do something. We need to do something at Wembley.
Yeah. You know what? Last time we struggled, right? And we didn't have a clue. And we ended up, there was loads going on. I don't want to recap it all, but I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. And we had too much of anything. So all your ideas are welcome. Give us a shout because you could appear on Crouch Fest if you come up with a good enough idea.
Where are we sending the ideas, Crouchy?
Well, actually, Dave, you thought I'd have nothing up my sleeve. But I have. The quickest way to get your questions in is by heading to thatpetercrouchpodcast.com. Correct, there's a website now, and you'll be able to submit anything you want to ask on there, as well as any videos, photos you want to share with us. And we'll be back stronger very soon, the next episode of the pod. Chumbawamba.